Welcome to the Radical Responsibility Revolution podcast. This is where we are transforming lives, inspiring you to reclaim your health, your wealth, and the power of your mind. Here we share actionable insights, inviting you to turn inwards and design your life of purpose and abundance. Welcome back to another episode of Radical Responsibility Revolution. So let's start with a moment of honesty today. If you were told growing up that if you went to college, got the degree, followed the rules, stayed responsible, definitely didn't rock the boat, you'd be rewarded. Rewarded with what? With security, with fulfillment, and a good paying job? Well, congratulations. You were sold a timeshare. And listen, it's not even a beachfront timeshare. It's more like a timeshare next to the dumpster behind the resort. And listen, I say that with love to all of you who went to a 4-year university or college. Because today I'm talking about the absurdity of credentials, of degrees, of the 4-year degree as a value guarantee, which it's been purported that way for so many years. And this is why so many smart, capable, wildly intelligent women are walking around thinking they failed, when in reality, the system has quietly expired while no one was looking. So something is not adding up here. Let's just put it that way. I mean, come on, if you're paying attention. So I've been thinking about this for decades now, and it's driving me a little crazy. So let me ask you a question. How is it possible that we have more degrees than ever, more student debt than ever, and more certifications than a CVS receipt? Come on. And at the same time, simultaneously, we have more burnout, more career confusion, more people with master's degrees working jobs that don't even require shoes. It doesn't make any sense at all. So at some point, we have to begin to admit the math ain't mathing. Seriously. A 4-year degree used to mean something very specific. You're now employable. Congratulations. Now it means you are now in debt. Good luck. Godspeed. Catch you on the flip side. Not going to be able to buy a house or do anything like that. And so I just want to say, I'm not anti-education. I'm anti-delusion. And if a 4-year degree were a stock, the analysts would be like, strong history, questionable future, massive volatility, and no dividends. So I want to go backwards for a minute to where this generational handoff came from, because I've watched it. I'm 70, so I watched things over a long period of time. Let's just talk about how we got here. So I'm a baby boomer, and baby boomers were right for their time. College supposedly led to upward mobility, right? We told our kids, go to college because I had to work up the corporate ladder. And the baby boomers stayed in jobs for decades. Pensions were real. Healthcare wasn't a roulette wheel. Holy criminy. Gen X then inherited that belief and passed it on with a little fear sprinkled into it. You need this to be safe, is what Gen X told to their kids, the millennials and the Gen Zers now. But what they were actually handed was a flaming baton of debt and told, run, run. Universities didn't just raise prices, they raised prices without raising the outcome. And that's not inflation. That's audacity and, frankly, bullshit. Somewhere along the way, college stopped being education and started being something completely different. It became branding, like I went here, lifestyle marketing. I have a degree, a very expensive 4-year networking party
with a syllabus attached. And it became a way to spread a life agenda that was not based in reality. And oh, yeah, for many kids, it was just a drunk fest, really. I mean, 4 years, 6 years of being drunk all the time. And a very pricey drunk fest, I might say. And the hangover lasts for 30 years while they're trying to pay off their student loans. So I want to break this down. We've got this whole notion that we need credentials for everything. And credentials versus competence, this is where it gets a little spicy. We have completely confused credentials with capability. And they don't mean anything. Literally, licenses now, even, you don't even have to know what you're doing. You can pay somebody to take a test for you. And I have interviewed women all over the place, hundreds and thousands. I've interviewed women with master's degrees in psychology who became life coaches, right? No licensing there. I've interviewed women who are PhDs who realized academia paid them in exposure. I've interviewed women who are engineers who left engineering to become a surveyor, like a high priced appraiser. I've interviewed women that are highly competent professionals trapped under less competent managers with oh so better titles. And I want to talk about just my own real estate industry, which I've been in for decades, because I know this world really well. And I've seen it over and over. To become a broker in many states, you have to have a 4-year degree. Now, they need, in Texas, I'll just use an example, 5 years of being an active agent and a 4-year degree. And here's the thing, some of the most capable agents I've ever seen, no degree, obviously, because experience is more than a piece of paper. Intuition, negotiation skills, and emotional intelligence don't come from the classroom. I promise you. Meanwhile, brokers out there with the credentials of a 4-year degree sometimes can't even price a house to save their life. So, what exactly are we measuring here? Time served, seat time, compliance. Here's the thing, paper doesn't equal mastery. We have to get that through our psyches, through our bones. I've run into too many women in my life that they have to have a piece of paper for them to feel that they have accountability, authenticity, authority. And women fill this gap because we're taught don't claim it until you prove it. So they keep proving and proving and proving until they're exhausted. And oh, by the way, still underpaid. So let's talk about AI. Enter AI. Let's add a little gasoline to the fire, shall we? It's called AI. And conservatively, I mean very conservatively, we're looking at about 25% of entry level white collar jobs disappearing, disappearing in the next 5 years. I know that everybody's talking about ICE disappears people. Your jobs are disappearing. That number is actually probably low and sooner than 5 years. Those are just what the experts said maybe a year ago. Here's the thing, AI doesn't care where you went to school. It doesn't care how expensive your degree was. It certainly doesn't care how many acronyms you have after your name because it replaces all of that. It replaces your task execution, your data processing, the repetitive work that you went to a 4-year college to get some knowledge about, procedural work. And this is the thing, exactly what these degrees trained people to do, basically to use computers to figure shit out. We don't need that anymore. The degrees were designed for this industrial white collar workforce. And guess what? AI just automated that workforce. So I'm not trying to be gloom and doom. I'm just trying to be proactive and realistic because I believe for decades now that this college thing is such a flippin' scam. So now what? If that's true and She's going to say, oh, terrible, the sky is falling. It's not. The women who will thrive aren't the ones with the most letters behind their name, credentials, degrees, oughta. They're the ones with discernment. That's not something you teach in school. Creativity. That's not something you teach in college. Emotional intelligence, leadership, embodied presence, and decision making capacity, which I promise you is not being taught in these universities. Quite the contrary. What they're teaching you is you can't survive on your own. So we have to look like everybody's in this boat of helplessness. And it's just so amazing that we are raising up generations of people that don't have any radical responsibility for their life and their choices. They're constantly looking outside to see how I'm going to fix somebody else instead of looking inside. How can I be a better person? How can I stand in my own authenticity rather than following the crowd and taking a protest here and running and screaming over there and calling somebody else out and deciding how everybody else should think? This is crazy making. So, just so you know, AI cannot replace being. It replaces doing, which most people, that's how they operate. They're not being who their authentic beingness is. So here is the cost, the feminine cost of over credentialing, over letters, over papers. It's just something has to prove to me that I'm worthy. Let's talk about that emotional cost because this is where it really lives. Women didn't over credential because we loved school that much. We over credentialed ourselves because we were taught if you're not taken seriously, get another qualification, get another degree, get another license, get another certification. So we have armored ourselves with these pieces of paper, these degrees, and stacked certifications like protective gear, which is insane. We have been chasing legitimacy, and you're legitimate because you exist and breathe. And then we wake up one day and we wonder, chronically fatigued. I'm anxious. I'm resentful. With a resume that looks really impressive, but this life that feels hollow because it's achievement addiction. It's not ambition. It's not being the greatest being that you can be. It's fear dressed up in productivity and pieces of paper. And when women burn out, the system doesn't say, wow, we extracted too much from her. It says maybe you need another certification. This is so completely unhinged and we've lost our way. So we need to come back and understand what's actually going on. What actually replaces all of these degrees, these pieces of paper, these certifications, the masters, the doctoral, oh, it just goes on and on. People collect them like they're stamps. So if the degree is no longer the golden ticket, what is? Well, it's not another hustle, believe me. It's not another program. It's not another hoop you have to jump through. The future belongs to women who do these things, trust themselves, lead from intuition, understand energy and systems that we live in, not the systems outside of us. The women that know how to communicate literally in every circumstance. The women that know how to create value without asking permission. Because the era of permission slips is over. You don't need another credential to be worthy. You are worthy because you exist. And you need to come home to yourself and remember that. So, if this conversation makes you uncomfortable, good. Yay. I've done my Enneagram 8 of challenging and you poking you and disturbing you, because that's the sound of the old story cracking. The women who are waking up right now, they aren't behind. They're early. These are the forward thinkers. These are the women that are going to be making the shift on this planet. So if this resonated with you at all, sit with it. Don't rush to fix it. Don't absolutely rush to prove anything. You don't need to prove anything. Just notice where you've been doing instead of being, because that's where everything changes. And you don't have to prove anything to anyone about who you are when you live in your true soul self. So share this with somebody that you know needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel. And I promise you, if you do that, you will begin to see how much you already have and are without proving anything else. Queen of Magic out.